Welcome to the KYZEN booth here at SMT AI. I'm delighted to be joined by Tom Forsyth. Great to see you again, Tom.
Good to see you, Trevor.
Yeah. So, one of the big themes at the moment is data and how to capture that data, how to monitor it in real time. And you've got a couple of products that do that. One on the batch side of the business, and another one on the inline process side.
Exactly, and it all started out with process control. And the inline systems are very dynamic, and if you're not, an automated system really serves you well because it takes a great deal of effort to do it manually. A person has to take measurements manually, then make additions of cleaning material manually, and on a fairly frequent basis. And when you do your statistical analysis of that, it's a bit scary.
Right.
So that was kind of where we started over 25 years ago. And of course, you're monitoring loads and loads of different parameters to get that process control right. Well, as time went on, the people, of course, a large chunk of the market uses batch cleaners.
Right.
And while those are less dynamic, they have less need for process control, they still have this great need for data collection. They want to, instead of having a piece of paper that someone's scrawling on it with a pencil that may or may not be legible,
right.
We want to have that information digitally easy to access, and that's where the Analyst was born, recently updated to the Analyst 2,
right,
where it's built into the machine. This monitor display here is bolted on there. All the data is monitored nearly continuously. And so you can go back and check yesterday, a year from yesterday, and you can access that data very rapidly, both on the screen. You can do trend analysis, or you can just go back and look at the data points and say, gee, there was a batch made at 2 o'clock on March 17th, 2006.
Right.
And you could go find that data pretty rapidly.
Wow.
So that's really a key. And what was interesting for us is we brought these products into the market, particularly on the process control side. We really focused on the control part of it, right? Here we are, we want a nice steady process with no variations. The data collection was something you did to get there.
Right.
But in those early days, we didn't see that as a value adder unto itself. Well, that's changed. The whole industry's changed from a perspective of data collection.
Yeah.
We're trying to collect that data not only for analysis, but again for bona fides. If there's an issue downstream, how can I rapidly identify a root cause?
Right.
And the first path of identifying root cause is eliminating things that aren't the root cause.
You
can do
having
that.
The data to
you
do
can
it,
do that very rapidly while
Yeah.
you're halfway down the road in a matter of minutes. And so it's been a real key attribute that people are very keen on.
Absolutely. I mean, and one of the other things that's happened with KYZEN's chemistries is that you've made them a bit more efficient as you've developed them.
Absolutely. Concentrations have come down. That's right.
Concentrations have come down, exactly. So basically been able to keep monitoring that. Some of these go down to 10% concentration.
Well, that's right. And the key is you want to be there. You want this. You want it to be a relatively flat line. There's always a little undulation to it, quite tight.
Right.
You don't want large spikes. And that's what the control systems do. They deliver that. And what this is doing is monitoring that and making sure you're there.
Yeah.
Now, the batch cleaners tend to have a much slower rate of drift.
Okay.
Because, of course, we're rinsing in the same chamber that we're washing, that kind of stuff. So it's easier to monitor and make adjustments for on a periodic basis. But the key is you can see it coming.
Right.
If your concentration starts to drift down just a little bit, at the end of the day, I'll make an adjustment. I'll be ready for tomorrow. I'm still within my control limits.
Right. Well, I mean, it's very
easy.
Yeah, it's very intuitive in terms of it's got a traffic light system there.
Well, that's right. It's green because things are good. If we were to lift this up, very quickly here for a second, once we get it out of there, lo and behold, it doesn't have a signal, so it doesn't know what it is.
Right.
If we were to add a bunch of water into this, it would have turned yellow and red.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
So, and you can see that from across the room. If you're wandering, if you're walking through the production area, you can glance over there, and if it's red, there's a problem.
Right.
The world doesn't need sirens anymore.
Right.
So that's a key. We've tried to make it very, very user-friendly, and that's all with our own in-house software team.
Okay.
We build all these software products ourselves. There's no blue screen of death lurking. They're all UNIX-based and great products, very stable, and it's been a real winner.
Yeah, great. I mean, you've had it for a while. You just keep it evolving.
That's right. The Analyst 2 is just because we're upgrading it, and part of that upgrade approach is improving the software so that it becomes hardware agnostic. Because these monitors and things. Well, people make them.
Yep.
They stop making them.
Right.
And if you've built your system around a particular hardware solution, well, something can fail in that hardware solution, and that requires a big deal. Whereas in this case, one of the key benefits of Analyst 2 is that if we have a screen go out or something like that, well,
just connect.
It's just a screen. It's not a big deal,
Exactly.
and that's a real value adder for our users, because these tend to be very long-lived products. We have people running the PCSs that have been running them for 20 years.
Right.
They work trouble-free. The analysts are really the same.
Yep.
So we're trying to eliminate those risk factors that would add some cost and headache for our customers.
So how does the inline system differ?
Well, from a measuring perspective, it's quite similar. Okay, where the key becomes, now I have to take action. So I'm going to say, oh, my concentration's gone down a bit, like we notice now we're at 16 something instead of 17, just a tenth of a point or two. Well, I want to make a little I want to make an addition.
Okay.
So what I have a whole series of things to do. I have to see, gee, are the pumps running so I get good mixing? I turn on a little pump that will add that product as it knows how much to add.
Right.
Then I'm going to wait and mix, and then I'm going to double check my measurement again. I'm going to check the water level. Do I need to add water? So it's doing a lot of very simple things, but it's doing them through, working through the software, doing it sequentially, so it maintains that process. It keeps the fluid levels in the right place. It keeps the concentrate. You don't. Oh, the fluid level's low. It adds a bunch of water. Oh, now I'm at a. It doesn't do that. It's designed to take all of that into account. So you get that pretty much a straight line across within a pretty narrow band.
Right.
And that's really the difference. It's that second step. We're measuring in the same way, but now instead of just displaying the answers,
it's actually doing process control.
It's actually doing process control. It's actually monitoring. It's actually then taking those actions to make a corrective action.
Excellent. Great. Okay, so that's the two systems from KYZEN. Anything else coming down the pipe?
Well, there's always new things. We're constantly, the lab's always working on new products, and we're working on new advances in the control systems and things. And we're always moving that ball forward. And once they get when they're ready for prime time, well, that's when we come and talk about them. So, like I say, Analyst 2 is the latest upgrade here. Chances are there's a PCS upgrade down the road here a little bit. And there's always a new product or two coming out every year or so.
Right.
So that's a steady stream of, Kaizen's all about it. Continuous improvement, it is what our name means.
Exactly.
And because of the nature of our world, it's our life.
Yep.
The contaminations change, the process changes, the designs change, and we have to change with them, or we'll be left behind. And we hope to not have that experience.
Yeah. Well, it's great to see you always continuously improving. And I want to thank you for giving us the walkthrough today.
Thanks for the opportunity. Have a great show.
Okay.
At KYZEN, we know it's the science that makes the difference. The right solutions happen when you care enough to ask the right questions. And we understand that your performance is directly related to ours. Science knows why it works, care knows why it's important.